Okay, so I'm doing something a little different today. I usually don't do commentaries, but I figured it's going to help us for this fight for next week. This is our heroic Imperator kill from this week, the week of the 12th, I think. Anyway, um, this kill was like really sloppy. We had a lot of people that, to be honest, probably weren't ready for this fight, but we thought we could get it down and get some people a good shot at some gear. Um, and we ended up downing him, so it wasn't a big deal. Only one wipe ain't terrible, considering. The big thing that I would like to change for next week, Untold, he's one of our new guild members, very experienced raider, experienced at raid leading as well. He actually kind of expanded on the strategy that we do, and I think it's really smart. I haven't seen a video of a group doing it particularly this way, but I think we can do it no problem. So as you can see, we're kiting these. The goal is to get to star, right, which is Untold, our boomkin. During these shielding phases, because we can park them right in front of these void zones, and this is what needs to be done. Now, typically, what we do is we have our tanks pick them up and then kind of kite them over. But what we can do differently this time around is, see, like, I'm being terrible right now. I should be on star still, technically. But the goal is to kill those ads in those two void zones, right? So what we do is we're going to get behind those void zones. The ranged will tag the ads. The tanks won't have to pick them up. And depending on our class comp, we should be able to stun them within those zones and kill them as they arrive. So, like any kind of stun or entangling roots kind of thing. So like Shadow Priest, Void Tendrils, you can park them there for quite a while. You can do any kind of knockback to keep them in, any kind of AoE stun to keep them in, and most classes have a way of doing that. I know Untold was telling me that he typically uses the Ursa's stun or Umber stun, I don't know what it's called, but it's a druid stun that you can spec into, I'm pretty sure. So our positioning isn't terrible right here. But as you can see, the goal is going to be to get behind these two void zones that are currently to our right. So Star's going there, everybody else should be going there. We park it. Now, if the tanks weren't picking them up, the ranged damage would have been enough to get them to come over here, and then we would stun as they come in. And, Melee's really good at kind of stunning them as well. So you can see a lot of them are stunned right now, but technically there's quite a few that are out. So having one tank as kind of emergency, get them into the void zone at the last second would be nice. But next week we're going to try doing tagging by the ranged. The ranged will get aggro, and then as a group we will slowly coordinate stuns to keep them there. And that's going to be the big change. The other thing is we've been like kind of ridiculously running away from the Frost Expulsion, the Expel Magic Frost. But as long as we have, classes with AoE speed increases, totems, everybody, and usually most classes have a way of individually increasing. So, like, we kind of get away from the Frost Orb here to kind of, like, this is the ideal distance. You don't want to get any further away from a trample than that, from a Frost Orb than that. So we're still parked on Star, and because we did the Stampeding Roar, you can see even after the Stampeding Roar wears off, the orb doesn't put the slow on you after that wears off. The slow only comes out on the initial thing. With Stampeding Roar, it appears. With the totem, it seems to come back. But it's pretty manageable, I think. This, outside of this, the big thing, and Untold died there, and it's not because he's bad. It's just he's furthest from that. The ads were just kind of sloppy in general, so I'm pretty sure the ads took him out. So we need to prevent that for next week. So we can clean up and make it so much easier on the tanks if we kind of keep the aggro on the ranged and tag them that way, and then stun lock, and then having a tank kind of assist on ones that kind of go crazy and get wild. Um, and luckily, we had people like our top DPS were really carrying our lower DPS, thank God, myself included. I don't typically play Shadow, so as you can see, there's actually probably 5 or 6 instances where I just completely fuck up my rotation. Shadow has a fairly complicated rotation. Not quite used to it yet, being a healer primarily, but that's whatever. So this is good. Like, these trample placements are not quite perfect, but they're good enough. Like, that's the goal that we're going for. And, like, at this point, burning the boss is probably ideal. 6% left. That's just something that we'll call out, like, I'm usually pretty good about, when I'm healing, I'm much better at calling shit out. I didn't really say much during this fight, but, we have kind of people halfway munching on the ads. It probably would have just been better to just straight up burn him in general, blowing last minute healing cooldowns, all personal defensive, stuff like that. So sloppy kill, but a good kill, and it works. I wedged in there in the top 10 DPS, which is pretty good for me, I feel like. Top 9. But yeah, that's basically all I wanted to go over. So we'll have one tank on emergency status for ads that kind of get out of control, but the goal is going to be having ranged get the aggro by just tagging them with dots, initial burst. They'll come to the ranged, which is next to the 2 void zones, and then we stun them, and we kill them immediately as soon as they're in that zone, those void zones, so we can kill them. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.